welcome or welcome back to the Light Renegades. My name is Star. Thank you so much for joining me today, everyone. I'm going to apologize in advance because I'm probably not going to be able to get through this video without crying, so please bear with me, everyone. I really wanted to do an energetic update video to kind of explain where I was when I took a little bit of a pause through the holiday season, and it was a real tough space to me. I felt like I'd taken a million steps back after feeling like I was on such a growth trajectory for a real long time, and it was hard to sit with, it was hard to face, it was really hard to really get to the bottom of me, get to the depths of me, and I felt like I was forced into those aspects of self through the situations around me. And I left you all in some pretty intense expressions regarding, vampiric energy and that expression, what it means, and I was having to truly understand just where I was positioning myself in that arena also. And I feel like I've been taken on a journey that I didn't know that I needed to take. And when I was thinking about what I wanted to share with you all in this space, I was guided to start right back from the beginning again. And I didn't know that I really needed to. So I'm going to let you all take a journey with me right back to when I was real young, just before my 20s. And I was in a relationship. It was my first long-term relationship. And I remember being with this person and thinking, this is going to be the best that anyone treats me in a relationship. Now, I can understand the limiting beliefs surrounding that space. I'm in a different space now, but I think somewhere from the bottom of my soul, I knew what was about to unfold in my life in the years to come. And, shout out to that person if they do end up watching this some way, somehow. But I very much knew that I'd met a soul that was incredibly nurturing, incredibly patient with me. I was absolutely a hot mess times a trillion at that time, and they were so patient and gracious with me. And we began to be in a space where we were going in different directions. We were both going off to university. We split up my second year of university, if I remember rightly, and I just felt like I knew that life was going to get real hard from that moment in time. And it did. It very much did. Life took many twists and turns, and I think that I hadn't really healed everything from that starting point. And when I paused at the holiday season at Christmas, I realized the situations that I found myself in were very much a direct mirror of the feelings that I had with inside self that were being played out on the outside. And I really needed to turn within to comb through aspects of self that I really needed to face. My shadow was being projected back to me, and I just wasn't in a space to be able to accept that. I was very much sat in victimhood for a real long time, and I really needed to just come to terms with that everything that has happened in my life has definitely been for my best benefit somewhere. And I think at times when we go through difficult situations, it's real hard to accept that it's been there for our growth. And it's difficult sometimes, I think, when other people are involved in that expression too. And it's hard when you see from the high perspective, but also you're living very much the 3D. And I think I found myself in a difficult position for some time because I can see the overarching energies of any situation. I can very much see from the upper room, and somewhere I was giving a lot of rose-colored spectacles to a lot of my situations because I just didn't want to feel it in the 3D. I didn't want to feel it in my human body, in my human vessel, because it just felt too large to deal with. And I think this is where I've had to really come to terms with that, I am a starseed here. I am a walk-in in this space, and I very much experience life to a different degree than some, and from a really highly sensitive space too. And I've really had to look at life through that new lens. And I think somewhere I was trying to run from the fact that I do feel different, that I do feel like I didn't really belong here for the longest time. And I think I haven't been admitting that to myself and that to other people in other spaces, because I think somewhere I've been afraid of others thinking that I think that I'm somehow better than them, that I'm somehow more highly evolved than them, and that being just so far from the truth. I know that I've been growing from the ground up, from the bottom of the barrel, and I've been clawing and fighting my way. It's felt like this whole entire time to stay afloat. But I think I really had to just come to the terms with the fact that I've been growing in some real dark and dense spaces, and that's been for a higher purpose, and I have to see that in as truth. So I've been letting go of a lot of victimhood mentality. I've been letting go of a lot of situations from the past that truly weren't there to serve my highest agenda, and having to really hold that as truth. I think somewhere I was giving so many souls a lot of grace along the way, because I could see where they were in their position in life and their, you know, perspective from their higher self. So I was letting things slide time and time again. I was letting behavior that upset me slide time and time again, because I was seeing and observing from the upper room. And sometimes, you know, we're supposed to be from that space, but often we are having to face things in the truest reality that we know it in the here and now. And that was also something that I was struggling with, because I was just flipping back and forth from many different timelines all at once, and that is very much not been the case so far for 2025, which I'm grateful of. But I was sucked into many different timelines and parallel timelines at the exact same time, and really trying to navigate through that space. And, you know, I felt like I'd made a lot of mistakes since awakening, and I was having to really forgive myself from those spaces too, because I was doing the best that I could with all the information that I had at that time. And I had the whole entire, what it felt like, the energies of the world just all come at me at once. And I was trying to figure it all out. I was trying to figure out the spirit realm. I was trying to figure out the galactic realms. I was trying to figure out my own darkness, my own shadow, then having to deal with the shadows and the projections of others around me. And also understanding that at some point I had to just let this go. And this is what I've been trying to do since my pause in December. You know, this has been slowly trickling in for me, because I realize this is a real deep karmic wound that I'm having to heal this lifetime, is truly not taking on the energies of others and their own karma, but also understanding that it is my birthright to be here. It is my birthright to be happy here, even if it upsets other people. And I feel like somewhere I was completely running from my life path, because I could see that me shining was upsetting people. And this has been something that I've spoken about before, but the entirety of my life, I just felt like I triggered people left, right, and center. And I didn't understand it. At that time, I would take on that energy, that pain that I felt, and I would see it in as that I'd done something wrong at all times. And, you know, I would see other people not like me to shine. I would see other people get upset if I spoke out about something, or, you know, if I did something in front of them. I could see that it really triggered them in some way. And, you know, I've been having to sit within my own shadow in that, and understand that I've been that person too. So I give other people grace, but also knowing that I've shone for a real long time in my life. It was just me that couldn't see it. And I came here to shine. And so many of you in the collective, I want to say, you have come to shine here too. So do not let the thoughts and the projections of others stick to you, because it's just not helpful. And if someone is triggered by you, it is there for their own growth, and you have to keep that as your truth. Somewhere I could see that me shining, me growing, me expanding in any way across the years upset other people. And I truly just didn't want to upset other people. So I started to shrink myself. I started to make myself be smaller. And, you know, somewhere that was absolutely killing me. And I'm grateful that I'm in this position now where I'm really starting to comb through every aspect of me again, and to turn deeply within again, so that I can just heal from the inside out, which then in turn is going to completely shift my reality. And I think somewhere I'd forgotten in the past year that I was going through, I've been in some real karmic loops and cycles with others that have just been really treacherous to try and navigate, and it's been really difficult for me to find a steady footing alongside something I'm going to share in a moment. But I'm grateful that I now get to see where those strings and those essences of the past were truly holding me back. And now I get to comb through those energies and walk forward and step forward anew. And it's a real potent time for change. We have come into the year of the 9, the year of the wood snake, and we have an amazing alignment coming up with the Leo full moon. So for those that might have been struggling with all aspects that I've been speaking of, specifically the fears of others projecting onto you, your own fears, you know, manifesting outside of you, now's the time to release all of that energy and to truly accept that you deserve to be in your sovereign power. And I think somewhere I was running from the power that I felt within me, because it just felt so overbearing somewhere. And I think I was afraid of wanting to tear it all down and doing so. And, you know, I know that my teams of light are here to support me, but this energy that I was feeling inside of me just felt like such a rush that I thought, I'm not going to be able to stop it somewhere. And I didn't realize that this was also a limiting belief that was holding me back. So remember that. Use this fire of this Leo full moon to really harness into release, let go of everything that has perhaps been affecting you up until this point on your life path. And, you know, this is going to be a burning ceremony. This is going to be a fire burning ceremony for myself. Throughout the past couple of weeks, I've just been writing down everything that has been a limiting belief for me, that has been a fear for me, and I'm going to burn it under the light of this Leo full moon to release it once and for all. And things always happen in waves, always happen in cycles, and I think somewhere I forgot that, and I felt like I'd taken a million steps back. I felt like I was right at the beginning of my awakening again, in 2020, where I was having to face some real dark, shadowy aspects of self, and really not wanting that to be my truth. So I think this is a reminder to say, no matter how far you come along your path, sometimes things are going to happen that makes you feel like you have taken a million steps back, that you've gone back to the beginning, but you haven't. Somewhere you have, but also you haven't, because you were able to express it and take it into heart at a much deeper capacity to be able to heal it from a truly heart-centered space. And I've really been in my feels the past couple of weeks, and over the weekend I lost one of my skinny pigs, such a dear, dear, dear soul to me. And I didn't know that I really needed to just grieve to the depths of my being, and that little soul passing has allowed for me to open up a space within me to really get to the grips and the bottom of some situations that have really been painful for me this lifetime, because I started to see that my tears for that soul passing was actually the tears for so many other situations that I just didn't feel ready to let go of. And these were situations that, I knew deep down I had to let go of in order for me to be able to grow, and, other people in tandem with that as well. And somewhere I've just found it incredibly difficult to let go of so many souls this lifetime, because I just care so much, and I feel like I just want to keep everyone around me and just protect them. And I realize that in some situations I can't be there to protect others, because they have to learn to protect themselves, and they have to learn to stand on their own 2 feet and go their own way. And I think I'm sharing this for some of the collective that might know that they need to step away from certain situations, certain aspects of life, certain people in their life, for them to be able to grow in their own way. So it's been a real challenging time on so many levels, and I've really hit depths of darkness that I just didn't know that I needed to face. And whilst I was in my time of really accepting self and soul, really accepting my past and everything that I've been through as a part of growth, I was guided to start to read this book. He came to set the captives free. And this book was brought to my attention maybe 2 years ago, and I feel like I wouldn't have been ready to read this book at the time when it first came through, but it was definitely brought to my attention. I thought, okay, I'm going to read this one day, and it came up again, and I thought that it was time. So I've been on a real strange path. So in tandem with healing the energies of the past, past relationships, past, heart-scorn spaces, I've also been on a deep dive trying to get to the bottom of my Catholic schooling and understanding just where it had put so many roadblocks in my trajectory and my progression on the ascension path without realizing it. And all of you have witnessed me kind of go full circle with Lucifer's energy somewhere, and it's still been something that I've really been having to come to terms with, come to grips with, is that as much as I am light, I am equal amounts of darkness, and that has to be my ultimate truth. And the position where I am right now, given that, I can channel all energies at this point, means that I can commune with the dark as much as I can commune with the light, if I choose to. And beings came to my attention that I just didn't feel ready to be communing with. And, I brought forward the Legion at some point, and these were souls and essences that have been created by the negative reptilian force, and they felt like they had been pawned somewhere, and that they were ready to step forward in their deepest capacity of the light with us. And this was something that felt really in line at the time, and I think somewhere I'd forgotten that I'd even done that. And I was taken back to a space where I felt like the dark was something scary again. I felt very vulnerable in my spaces, and I felt like I was having to watch my back. And I realized it was because I'd shed a layer of ego that was really needing to be let go of, and this was feeling like I didn't belong here and that I wasn't safe somewhere. And along the path of me decompressing and deconstructing energies of the past, it left me with a space that felt vulnerable, that felt open, that I felt very much under attack of some energy somewhere. And that very much started to ensue once I started to read this book. And this book is about a soul that was in a real deep and dark satanic cult at one point in their life, and how their life was changed by a woman that is a Christian, and she helped her in her spaces. Now, I was not prepared for the layer of expression that came forward upon reading this book. I haven't finished it. I've got a few chapters left, but I feel like it has taught me so much in so many ways that I think I'm struggling to put all the layers together because it's so multifaceted for me. So when I took my break, when I took my time away, I was in such a rage. Somewhere I was so angry with myself. Somewhere I was so angry with my teams of light. Somewhere I was so angry with the entirety of my life path. I thought, why did I come here? Why have I gotten myself into all of this? And I was just, crying in pain somewhere. And the rage was real. The fire was real. The anger within me was so real. So real, in fact, that teams of light let me go off and fight somewhere for a little while because I just felt like I wasn't able to contain what was burning inside of me. And upon that happening, I realized that there is always going to be a fire within me that burns so bright, that burns so ferociously, that I've really been having to learn to tame my own emotions. And I'm a being that feels so deeply, and I've been having to mature in that space and understanding, that I don't have to act on every emotion, and that if emotions come, it's okay to just feel them. And somewhere I've been stifling this expression within me for such a long time. I've just not been wanting to feel my feelings because they feel so they just feel so powerful. And along this path, I've realized that in feeling them, you also let them go. So I was feeling such rage in my space, and then I was sent to start to read this book, and I realized that there was a lot that I brought within me from my Catholic schooling that was seeing in just purely the black and white, but I was experiencing something that was so in the gray area, but I kept hitting what felt like my head against the wall every time I reached a point that was new to me in concept, that was new to me in expression. And Anna Marie and myself keep using the word nuance in terms of that nothing is exactly just one way, and it's definitely situation dependable, also lifetime dependable, where you find yourself in your expression. So I've been learning the dark in a very different way. I've been understanding where Satanists come from in their expression, what they believe in, and just the ferocity of their expression when it comes to using demonic energy and what that means for a being of light. And to me, somewhere, this really took me to a space of ultimate fear, and also allow for me to see just where I'm not in the same expression as others. And I was guided to also start to delve a little bit deeper into other spaces of expanse. And through doing so, I came across a podcast that very much was mirroring how I was feeling in my expression, but I just didn't have anything else to ground that into the expression that I was feeling, or see it in other spaces be, mirrored back to me. Because I think we're in a lot of spaces where the ascension is all just love and light, and there hasn't been room for darker expressions to step forward and be with us in a healing space too. And I'm starting to see that there is definitely a gray area for all of that expression, and that's where I've been, but I just didn't have a pocket to put me into. So I'm going to tag the podcast for your viewing purposes as well. It's on Tinfoil Tales, I believe it's called, so that you can hear this other person's expression of where she finds herself to be. And she's definitely had an incredibly difficult life path this time, and my heart was going out to that soul when I was receiving her expression through that podcast. But she speaks about being able to commune with darker entities and darker expressions, and that being something that isn't of darkness somewhere for herself, and that she can peddle both sides of the spectrum. And I think I've been completely running from that truth, because one, I was afraid of how I was going to be received, within these communities. And I felt like I think somewhere, because of my Catholic upbringing, I just saw the dark still somewhere as just pure evil. And I was really struggling when beings of darkness started to step forward and wanted to commune with me. And at certain points in this journey, I've called in certain energies, and I felt like I needed to call them in for protection in some spaces. And this is what this book has helped me to understand, is that in certain spaces, I've had to call in certain energies to be a form of protection. This was definitely something that was brought up in the last GA message, this idea of that I brought in Lucifer's energy at some point in my journey as a layer of protection, as a layer of force, so that I could step step forward and be still on this path of ascension whilst going through a lot of turmoil and release for the collective through this negative reptilian influence. And somewhere I've had to understand that what I've been taught in my black and white expression through Catholic schooling just isn't now the truth for myself. And I'm going to perhaps say something that might be quite insulting to some, and I really don't mean for it to be, because I was given an out with this book. At the time that I started to read this book, I wasn't sure what I believed in anymore. I was sent back into the cocoon. I was sent back into the mush. I was just incredibly lost. I felt incredibly heartbroken somewhere. I was smack bang in the middle of just expansion and heartbreak all at the exact same time, and I thought, I don't know where I am. I didn't know who to trust. I didn't know which teams to trust. And I was sent this book to help me figure myself out. And I was sent to Christianity school. You know, I was sent to understand the Bible again. I was sent to understand aspects of the dark and light and what it means. And I believe that I was given an out somewhere to turn to Christianity at this point in my journey. And I went to a public library and I was sat reading this book in between meeting clients, and someone was sat next to me and they said, can I ask you what you were reading? And I thought, gosh, am I going to be honest about this? And, you know, interestingly enough, this person was actually sat at this same library doing Bible studies. They were a Christian, and, you know, they very much said, you know, I'm here to answer any questions that you have. And they invited me to church. And in that time, I thought, well, I said to myself, I think maybe 2 or 3 days before, I thought, if God is calling me, then show me a sign, you know. And a sign was shown to me, an out was given to me, and I really had to sit with it. I really had to sit with what I truly believe in. And I believe that at some points in the journey, things just get completely out of the realms of anything that you've experienced before, that you go into a state of shock. And somewhere I believe that I'd gone into a state of shock because everything that I come to this point in my journey, 2022, 2023, and 2024, I was dealing with so many energies that have come to light through reading this book that I just was not in awareness of. And I was dealing with the negative reptilian orders to such a degree that it was just baffling to be able to understand what was happening. And I was also dealing with this hub and this layer of just the darkest expression of energy that you could possibly imagine that was being filtered into my space. But at that time, I just wasn't in a full awareness of it. And I've asked my teams of light, you know, exactly why that was. And they said, if we were to have told you exactly what was happening, you would have just crumbled mentally. So I was dealing with a lot of energies kind of flitting through me. And I just didn't know what was happening. I don't really remember that much of 2023, to be honest with you, everyone. And I was dealing with a lot of expressions that were stepping forward that I just didn't feel in the capacities to be able to understand at that time. So I was having to deal with all of those situations again, but from a space of being able to understand where this energy was coming from. And it completely floored me again, which is why I took such a long time off, because I was really having to be stronger in what I was believing in, what I believe myself to be, and understand that there was so much of my Catholic upbringing that I just had to let go of in order to be able to ascend. And I believe that once you hit sometimes these roadblocks within spirituality, I think some people turn back to strict doctrine, turn back to strict dogma, because it just gets too expansive. And now this is not to say that you are in the wrong in any way if you believe in any strict doctrine, because that's not what I truly believe. I believe if you are here doing the best that you can, living in life in as much alignment with the light as you can, then you can't go wrong. But I've been having to understand that somewhere there is a true darkness, but there is also a darkness that is in light, and there is a neutrality to that expression too once you receive this from the upper realm. And Anna Maria brought this forward in her last polarity paradox expression, this idea of that nothing is inherently bad or good from the upper room. But now that's not to say that when we filter it down to where we are, it depends on your life path on what is going to be harmful or helpful to you. And in this book, you know, this woman is completely ravaged by demonic energies time and time again. This is something that she invites in. She is considered to be, I can't remember the term, a high witch somewhere. And it was completely flooring to me to understand just exactly what people in these satanic rooms the uppest level are doing, and how they work with darker energies and how they fight with each other. I think I was really taken aback by that. But also, when this expression happened, I had two demonic entities step forward and communicate with me. And I didn't like the energy. It didn't feel nice to me. It didn't feel like something that I wanted to be around at that time. And I think I'm still coming to grips and to understanding exactly why that was, whether that was information and energies of the past, mixing with the energies of these beings, which is why it just felt so jarring to me. Or this is me really having to come to terms with the fact that I'm just of a different vibration than I used to be. And, I didn't ever call in demons at any point of my life. Up until this point, I called in Lucifer's energy. I asked for their help at some point, but I wasn't necessarily connected to magic at the degree that I am today. And this has definitely been something that has been filtering in over the past few years in my ascension process. And I believe magic to just be the nature of life. And as much as we are here calling in these energies of a higher vibration to come and help us, there are beings out here that are calling in the energies of the lowest vibrations to come and help them. And somewhere I've had to just consider that that is a life path of a soul, and that is also okay for them where they find themselves to be. But once this dark energy meets strict doctrine, this is where it becomes something to be feared, something to be fought, and something to be battled with. And I think the main takeaway that I've got from this book so far is the fact that in this book, if you do not believe that Jesus Christ is your savior, then somewhere your soul is lost to the dark, and you can't look after yourself. And I very much slipped into that energy when I was fearful of everything, when I felt like I've been stripped back to the beginning of everything throughout December. I was very much fearful of the energies that were surrounding me. I didn't feel like I could protect myself. And this book came forward to remind me that I am a sovereign being and that I can protect myself. No matter what is happening in my life, I have the right to say, I do not want this energy to be in my energy anymore. And I can put a stand and a stop to that. Now, if you believe in strict doctrine, that is where they say that that isn't true, and that you have to call upon the light of Jesus Christ and the Most High. And I've been in certain situations where I felt like I had to call in that energy too. There were certain aspects of life and this expression that I brought forward before where I've had to read certain psalms to be able to clear the energies of a space. So I'm still in a space of understanding exactly what all of this means. I haven't been given a full stop to this expression, so I was quite surprised that they wanted me to bring forward everything that I've kind of been understanding and coming to grips with in the most recent weeks. And apologies that it's here, there, and everywhere. I hope this is making sense to some, but I know that I'm still trying to figure it out for myself. So I've come to the expression where I put demons on hold. Some step forward. I thought, I'm not ready to speak to you. And I went through the darkest expression with those entities. They came forward. I spoke to one who's, I'm not going to say their name. If it feels right at the time, I will share that, but I'm being told not to share it now. But they're pretty high up in the spectrum as far as it goes into demonology. And, when I first very much started to research the darkness, Aleister Crowley stepped forward. I started to really, try and understand these energies and these entities at a deeper capacity. And I've been getting rid of dark energy for such a long time, but I didn't truly see what I was getting rid of. It was always just shadow beings. It was always just energy that I was working with. And through December, and this is happening just before that, it's been slowly trickling into my expression, because I've always been able to see, but at some point in my journey when I was really young, I was seeing absolutely terrifying things. So I blocked myself from truly seeing. So I was just seeing energies. I was seeing shapes. I was seeing shadows. But throughout December, I started to be able to really see what was around me, what I was facing. And I've consumed a lot of expressions of late through podcast understandings, and these have been Christianity-based podcasts. So I very much got taken to real strict understandings, and it's been really eye-opening to see their expression in terms of what they believe dark energy to be, what they believe light energy to be, and what they believe extraterrestrial energy to me. And I very much hit the point of, oh my gosh, I just didn't see this coming, and I don't know how I didn't see it coming, But somewhere along the way, galactic energy has been put in the sin bin, it's been put in the satanic bin, and I just didn't know that that was the truth out there somewhere. So I feel like I've been prepared for what's to come, with people thinking that I'm here for, darker energies only, I'm here for demonic forces only. But believe me when I say I've been doing this to everything of the dark for such a long time, because somewhere I wasn't willing to accept that it was a part of me too. And I think this is the expression that we are going to hit with so many moving forward. And I think this is something that so many have just been running away from, is that we are ultimate light but also ultimate darkness at the exact same time, and that has to be our truth. But I started to experience these demonic energies. I spoke to one came forward as something that was a being in a tree, and it was quite a cryptid expression. Sorry, I'm thinking about what I want to share in a moment. It was quite a cryptid expression that came forward, and I could just see a being in the tree in the distance, and it looked like we're gonna share that. Okay, it looked like a specific animal, and I was looking at it and I thought, you look like, to me it felt like a gray. It felt like a small gray was masking itself as this energy. And once I had that thought in my mind, I wasn't able to then look at this being again. And as much as I wanted to turn my head, I couldn't. And I thought, that is super, super interesting. That's something that I'm experiencing right now. I went away and I started to do a little bit more research into the animal that I was experiencing in that expression. And unbeknownst to me, this animal was actually a demonic energy in its sigil and expression too somewhere. So I realized that I wasn't necessarily looking at a gray, although I felt that in the energy, which I think is something that is going to perhaps come to light at a later date. But I felt like I was experiencing a gray alien. But when I did my research, this was actually a demonic energy also stepping forward in that space. So I was like, okay, demonic energy is here. And then that same night, I met another demon that I said is pretty high up in the ranks. They came and sat on my bed, which is always a very strange expression to be in. I seem to find myself in these vulnerable expressions with these beings times and time again. And they came to speak with me, to commune with me, and to share with me that they'd been sent to me. They'd been sent to watch me. They'd been sent to I guess try and stronghold me somewhere, but they understood that they couldn't, and they understood that they didn't have a place to stand in my expression, and they decided to leave. And something that I'd forgotten about until this other being stepped forward is that I had another being also come forward, which is a demon, and they said, I've been sent to you, and I understand that I can't be here. And that is what they said, and then they left. And this was maybe a month or two ago. And at that time, this is what I mean, so many things happened to me, and I just think, okay, I'm just experiencing it, but I've been really having to take all of these expressions truly, truly into myself, and having to face them and to understand why they are here, because they are a part of me somewhere. It's been a part of my life path that I'm having to face now. And I think somewhere I've been in utter fear of what that's meant for perhaps this community already, perhaps for myself and my expression moving forward. But I'm starting to understand that there is a layer to ascension, that once you start to see light and dark not as good or bad, that's when you kind of get to move through spaces and time in a very different way. And I think I'm on the cusp of being able to truly see that in its truth, and truly be able to accept that I'm here for perhaps the dark expression as much as I am for the light, in terms of awakening consciousness. And, I haven't fully decided exactly which direction this is all going to take for me personally, because I've still just been having to break down strict layers of this indoctrinated space in my mental capacity somewhere, and I hadn't realized just how much it was holding me back on so many levels, so many layers. And I'm getting quite personal here, but I've started to understand that somewhere I perceived even pleasure and my ecstasy and my joy in life as wrong. Somewhere I started to believe that self-sacrifice was something that was the only worthy expression of being here. And this came from my Catholic upbringing, this came from my Catholic schooling, and this came from the expression of, to self-sacrifice, you're doing it for the greater good somewhere. And I've been having to let go of that expression, and I didn't even realize it was at the forefront of my expression. And it was definitely something that I felt within this space too. I'm here to serve the collective, but at certain expressions I was just completely crumbling behind the scenes. But I saw that as a way that I was truly helping somewhere, and I've been having to let that go. I've been having to understand that I can serve the collective best when I'm my happiest, and see that in its truth. And for the longest time I just hadn't felt happy. I just hadn't felt in my lightest and my brightest, because I was dealing with this negative reptilian order and this energy for such a long time. It was such a weight to me that it's been really difficult to let it go and to be receiving life in a very different way. And I had a really erupting expression of tears when I realized that, you know, I let go of such a weight of expression. I've been dealing with a lot of this negative reptilian order for a real long time, and it was time to truly let it go. And this was happening throughout December, and I thought, gosh, this is the lightest that I'd ever felt, and somewhere this just completely crippled me. One, understanding that, you know, it wasn't my right time to be in my lightest expression up until this point, understanding that I've lived many years in the dark, and just how upsetting that was for me, you know, from a heart-centered space of understanding that I just felt confused for the longest time, and it was really incredibly painful. But now I get to understand my truth. Now I know my truth, that, you know, I'm a starseed here, I'm a Pleiadian here, and it's just been a real struggle trying to understand exactly what's been going on for the longest time, for the entirety of my life. We all come here with amnesia, you know, those that resonate with that expression. And somewhere I've been running from that truth too. I was afraid to admit that. I was afraid to truly say, you know, I've just been in pain, and I've been in pain in this space too. You've all seen me crumble and fall time and time again, but somewhere, you know, I've been having to grow on the job, and somewhere it just didn't feel in alignment. I didn't feel like I was ready to be in this space. But now I understand that this has all been part of the path. I'm still going to continue to grow on the job, and that just has to be my truth. And I think somewhere people are afraid to admit that, specifically when they are holding space for others, because they want to seem like the strongest being that is here. They want to seem like they are, you know, able to hold for others. And I want to say that through our vulnerability is where we can hold each other best. And I'm starting to see that this is a new layer of expression that we are stepping into. And gone are the days of the gurus. This is about people stepping forward and saying, this has been my expression. There might be some aspects of me that can help you, and I hope that they can. So that's a space that I come from. I'm not here to say that I know more than you. I'm not here to say that, you know, I'm somehow of a higher consciousness than you. This has just been my experience, and all my lifetimes have culminated to this expression. I think somewhere that I've been afraid of admitting that too, is that I'm here for this. Exactly how my life path is right now, whatever is happening, is here for me. And I've just been stumbling time and time again, but it felt like into different layers of expression. I just thought, I don't know how to make all of this make sense. And so many extreme things have happened on this path. I just couldn't hold on to it all. But throughout December, I was having to face that my reality was my reality, that the magic that I feel, that the darkness that I feel, that the light that I feel, all live within me, and that has to be my truth. So I'm at I don't want to say at a crossroads in my journey, but I think I'm on the precipice of truly accepting that some things I'm just going to have to experience. And, you know, if that turns out to be something that was the wrong path, I will have to hold my hands up and say, you know, it was the wrong path, and this is what I found out. But I think I was so hesitant to step forward to the dark and greet it and meet it and to experience it, because somewhere I've been told that it's only pure darkness and there is no wealth in there. But I know from a heart-centered space that through my darkest years, I've learned my biggest lessons, and somewhere that has been incredibly enriching and heartbreaking all at the exact same time. So I've been having to face that truth. I've been having to deal with my past from a new layer, less ego, more heart space. And, you know, it crippled me. I really needed to take a pause. I really needed to let go of victimhood. I really needed to just say, okay, I need to turn within and heal. And I'm so grateful for each and every soul here experiencing this with us all, with all of us Light Renegades growing on the job. But I want to say that I'm ready. I feel ready to delve into more. I feel ready to experience more. And I'm grateful for the souls that have stepped forward so far in this journey and shared your vulnerability with us also. Because I think that that's important. And something that I want to say is completely true when it comes to strict doctrine somewhere is this idea of confessing one's sins. And this is something that Anna Marie and myself have felt time and time again. And this idea of just allowing for yourself to be seen in your rawest expression, and, you know, letting it be known, everything that you've been through, everything that you have perhaps done to others that you're shameful of, everything that you've experienced somewhere that made you feel smaller than, less than, as a victim, having that be something that is absorbed into another's energy, and for them to say, I love you and I forgive you, is incredibly healing. And, you know, I don't think we need to label something as God to be able to do that. I think we can do that in our own personal spaces. And I really didn't like the expression that this book brings forward, and this idea of that it is only God that can save, it is only Jesus that can save. I think that was the only thing where I thought, yeah, Christianity isn't for me, because I promise you, everyone, I put everything on the table. I went back to zero and I said, okay, like, what do I believe now? Everything that has happened to me up until this point on this path, and I was struggling. I was asking again for teams to come in, for beings to come in to support me, because I just felt like I was on the floor in a puddle again. I thought, I don't know how to come back from this. It was just too much at the time. It was so personal in my space. My heart was just completely breaking. And I called out, I was like, if God is real and true, I want to meet them. I want to see them. And I want to say that I still haven't met God in the way that I've been told God exists. And I have to let that be my truth. Somewhere it was heartbreaking, to know that, and to say that I just can't subscribe to God as what we have been told it. And somewhere I feel like people stick the God label on something that they are creating, that they don't believe comes from strict doctrine as God, but they put it on there to make it be more palatable to others. And I just have to say that I can't do that. I can't do that in my spaces. I can't pretend anymore. I might use it as a point of reference to say, insert God here, insert source energy here, but I just can't call in something that I haven't experienced yet. I've, had the experiences with Jesus upon my path. I do believe that whole expression exists. But I just haven't met God as a singular man out here creating these universes and these expressions. And, somewhere I think I wish that I could say that. Somewhere I wish that I could give it all over to this other force and say, guide me, lead me, and have it all be taken away from me. Because I think somewhere too, people can't accept the pain that they feel, so they bow down to something else to take it away for them. And I'm not saying that that's not the way, but I know that there is a different expression that is out here, and this is what I believe that I'm walking. This path of ascension, I'm having to feel my light, I'm having to feel my dark, I'm really having to face it all. And at some points it is just so much. And when you feel those moments, please just pause. And I'm apologizing to anyone that I might offend in this expression that I've shared already, but I do believe that we are entering into times that we truly have never faced before. So there are going to be things that we do not have names for. There are going to be things that we cannot just put in the sin bin, and somewhere I'm in the sin bin. You are all in the sin bin by watching our videos as the Light Renegades, by consuming galactic expressions. Somewhere there are people out here that believe galactic energy to be demonic energy, and we've all just been put in this burning fire for eternity. And I just can't believe that is truth somewhere. And somewhere there has to be a space for us to grow in whatever expression that we are. And this is definitely something that Anna Marie and myself will be bringing forward at a later date at a deeper capacity. But I just wanted to let you know where I've been, what I've been experiencing. And actually, sorry, I need to jump back because I didn't finish my expression with the demonic energy. So, at it being stepped forward, the one in the tree that came through kind of telepathically in their expression through my third eye, found out this was a demon. It felt like a grey alien in their space. I think that's something for the future. This being that came and sat on my bed had the discussions with me. And then the day after that, I went through expressions of sleep paralysis that were really quite crippling, really quite scary. It's not often that I've experienced sleep paralysis, but when I have, I've been doing a little bit more research into perhaps what that means. And there are also some podcasts that I've experienced in that expression that I'm also going to link in the description below. And I experienced like a dog-like being, and also then it turned into like this old woman with a real horrible intense smiling face at me, and I couldn't move in this expression. It was like centimeters away from my face, and I thought, gosh, yeah, some things that people experience are really harrowing, and I understand why, they feel like they need an outside force to come in and protect them. And we all do this in our spaces, sometimes we'll call upon the angels, we'll call upon other expressions. So I understand it, but somewhere I've been having to learn that I can protect myself, and whatever I'm experiencing, I don't have to believe that thing can hurt me. I can say that I'm a sovereign being and I'm of power. You cannot hurt me, you cannot touch me, and that is the truth. And I brought through this expression when I first started to talk about demons. We had a whole video where we broke down what that expression means, but I also think that demons mean very different things depending upon your life path and where you find yourself in your journey. And this goes across the board. I'm starting to understand that my truth isn't someone else's truth, and that just is okay. I was looking for a point blank period answer on a lot of things that I'm starting to understand that I just can't have that be the truth, because there are so many expressions that are happening right now, and I believe that the Light Renegades are working with very succinct expressions regarding to the negative reptilian order, but I also think that there is a war raging between light and dark aspects somewhere, because I think this has been being brought forward in other spaces. So now we're having to face that because we're trying to ascend somewhere else. So I believe personally, all of this strict doctrine, all of this expression has manifested even more beings that believe that they are under the control of a real dark force, and that it's only God's voice and it's only the light of Christ that can harm these beings, that can make these beings go away. So I feel like I've been sucked into an expression of understanding that everything that we thought of as being truth at some point is now coming back to us, and we're having to face it. So I'm starting to understand that I think I'm here to help others, guide them through a space that isn't black and white. This isn't, if you believe in the darkness, you are going to hell. This isn't, if you are experiencing anything of a darker nature, that you're not going to be able to survive unless you give your soul over to God or Jesus somewhere. We're in a completely different trajectory. And I think somewhere I was missing that point is that, these expressions in these books, they are talking about human beings somewhere. I'm not a human being. I live in this physical vessel, but my soul and my essence is galactic in nature on so many levels, and so are so many of you out there too. So if you feel like you've been perhaps, breaking away from strict doctrine, you're not in a wrong expression, you're just ready for something different. And I think I'm here to help capture those souls from that space and say, you're no longer captive in your own mind. Somewhere I was captive in my own mind by putting myself, perhaps in the sin bin somewhere, but also not wanting to accept that I do have dark aspects, and not wanting to accept that I'm ultimate light also somewhere too. And I think coming from a space of such darkness, I was really struggling with accepting my light in there too, and understanding that in some certain circumstances I've had to be that ultimate darkness to other people, and that's been to help them on their expression too. And I think this is where some in the collective get stuck. They get stuck in the things that they perhaps have inflicted on others, and they see it as the end of the world, and then they turn that pain onto themselves. And that's definitely something that I've done along this path too. But I had the sleep paralysis expression. I'm going to share some videos that go into a deeper expression of sleep paralysis, and there's some real interesting theology surrounding that, and I would suggest anyone to delve a little bit deeper if that piques your interest. And then I had an expression of something that I'd experienced before, and this was a feeling of my soul being pulled out of me. And throughout this book, I'd heard expressions of beings saying that, when these demons stepped forward, it felt like their world was just completely crumbling in on them. And I was laying in bed. This is I just woken up in the morning, and I was in that sleepy state, but I felt this energy come in so strong, so true, and I thought, demonic energy is here again. And then I felt something that I had experienced before, but it was at such a deep capacity that I thought, oh my gosh, if this is something that a soul has experienced for longer than these few moments that I'm experiencing, I understand why some people feel like their world is coming to an end, and that they cannot go any longer. The pain that I was feeling is nothing that I can describe in the words of the 3D of the human. It felt like the entire universe, I've got full body shivers just trying to relay what I was even feeling to myself. It felt like the whole entire universe was collapsing in on itself. It felt like my soul was collapsing in on itself, and I felt like if I tried to breathe, tried to move, tried to I don't know, do anything, that I would cease to exist in the physical form, but also I would be stuck in that pain forever. And I'd experienced something like this when I was awakening to deeper aspects of my galactic essence. And at some point, a being came in and tried to take my essence from me somewhere. And I remember I had headphones on, and something came in and they pulled the headphones off me. And I was in a state of paralysis somewhere. This is what teams of light did to my body. They put my body in paralysis, and I felt like a being was trying to pull me out from my big toe, which I know sounds incredibly strange, but my leg lifted up out of the bed, and I could feel my energy being pulled out of the vessel. And that's when at some point, after a few seconds, I snapped back into my bed. I jumped back into my bed, and I was like, oh my gosh, what has just happened? And teams came in, they said they apologized. They said, something slipped through, we managed to get them away, etc., etc. And that was the only expression that I could kind of pinpoint to be similar of this essence. But it just doesn't belong here, is what I want to share. And I feel like once you hit certain frequencies of your expression, you just can't commune with those energies anymore. And I was taken into this space of meeting the darkest of dark when I was going through expressions of the Darkness series. You can go back and watch that series. And, I was meeting Lucifer's energy from a different capacity, and I was taken down into a cave, and all the walls were just dripping with blood. And I felt this energy and this voice step forward and say, they didn't even say anything, but it felt like they said everything all at once at the exact same time. And I just said, you can't have me, you can't have my soul. There is nothing you can do that can stop me from my path or to make me want to be with you. And I think there is this, it's connecting to this satanic strain of darkness. I believe the darkness that I've been speaking of is a darkness that exists somewhere, but I think there are other layers of this darkness that also exist in other spaces, and this is what I've been getting to know through this book. I would highly suggest reading it if you have a curiosity with the occult, if you have a curiosity into Satanism and demonic energies and just how they work. I found this incredibly eye-opening. I think it's going to be very helpful for me. It's a book of deliverance, I guess, somewhere. But I think that it's going to be helpful for me to understand where other people are coming from in their expression. And I think we are going into times where this is going to be more relevant than ever. Just understanding that we are light, we are darkness, but also there is a lot of darkness that is creeping in. There is a lot of wars that are happening behind the scenes that I've definitely been connecting to, that I've been feeling of late. Before my break, I was definitely in spaces of just real, pure darkness and, working within those realms in my dream time, in my other spaces, spatial awareness and times. So I've been working with and, alongside and fighting for the light for a real long time, but I've also been in darker expressions, having to understand that and, pay my karma dues also somewhere in those deep and dark expressions. So I've been having to come to terms with that at a deeper capacity. I hope that all of this has made some sense somewhere, but I know that somewhere it still hasn't made full sense to me. I was surprised that they wanted me to come forward with as much as I have, so apologies everyone. I hope that you've managed to keep up somewhere. So I'm going into an expression of understanding demonic energies deeper. I'm going to be communing with that essence, with that expression, and trying to understand at least where we find ourselves from our upper room of the ascension process. And I'm just going to see what happens is what I want to share everyone. I'm not in fear, and that expression, I think, perhaps in ways that I would have been in the past, but neither am I standing 2 feet in and saying that I know exactly what is going to happen in that space, because I don't. And I think that just has to be the truth. And I think also this is working in tandem with, where the collective is and what we are able to commune in and bring forward together. So I've come to a state again of really having to trust teams of light around me, also having to trust the dark around me, and understanding that we are creating new fabrics of reality for us to exist in. And this is something that I've just forgotten somewhere along this path. I was dealing with a lot. I was dealing with a lot of 3D expressions with others. I've been dealing with friends, family, everything, all alongside all of this. And I had forgotten that I create my own reality. And this is a point that we are always, always in. So hold that as your truth. What you are experiencing is either a reflection of you, and somewhere deep inside of you, it might be a reflection of someone else around you. But how you engage in that space is entirely up to you. And this is something that I think we're going to have to remember moving forward. And at some point in this journey through the darkness series that I created, I said, we're going to have to face our demons. We're going to have to face our shadow. And those times are coming. So remember that, everyone. You are a sovereign being. However you deal with any situation that comes before you is in your power. It's within your power to decide how you want to behave. It's within your power to decide how you want to react or not react. Pausing is definitely something that I would consider doing more often than not at this stage of the journey. I was quite a reactive soul, and I was in a lot of pain in my victimhood, and I realized that I just was biting back in certain situations. I was slinging my venom left, right, and center because I felt in pain somewhere, and I've been having to see that as my ultimate truth, and hold my hands up in certain situations and say I was wrong. And I want to come from a more heart-centered space moving forward. So I'm going to leave it here, everyone, because I feel like I could just speak forever on things that I still haven't got full stops in. But I've been very, very excited to bring forward this expression and the things that I've learned. And I feel ready. I feel ready to say that, you know, I'm as ready as I think I can be for this next leg of the journey. And thank you all for witnessing. Thank you all for being here with the Light Renegades through all of this. And I'm really excited to be able to, you know, be walking this path at a deeper capacity with all of you. And Anna Maria also, like, we're so ready to just experience the next stages of this ascension. And I think so many of you are ready for that too. I feel like we've been treading a tightrope for such a long time, but now these spaces are opening up to us more, that we do get to experience everything. And I have been wanting to experience everything, and I had to just see that as my truth. You know, somewhere I came crying and screaming on this path, believing that, you know, this was something outside of my control, not understanding, or, you know, perhaps not wanting to believe that I chose every aspect of my journey up until this point. And I get to experience the all, and somewhere I did ask to experience the all, but sometimes it comes up in ways, shows up in ways that you just aren't expecting. But I'm grateful for this path and grateful for the collective, and thank you for witnessing today. Apologies to anyone that I might have offended. You know, that is definitely not what I come here to be. Wherever you find yourself in your expression, there is no wrong expression. Believe me, I think there is such wealth that comes from Christianity, Catholicism, strict doctrine somewhere. I believe as long as you are believing in the light somewhere, then you can't go wrong at this point. But it's just not where I am in my expression. And, you know, they gave me an out. They gave me Christianity. They said, do you want to join? And somewhere, you know, I had to see to my truth is that I'd love to have complied in that expression. I would have loved to have said, yeah, I want to give it all over to this being that they call God. But I just can't somewhere, because I haven't been experiencing it in the way that I know others have experiencing it. So I know that it's not my path and it's not my truth, and I have to see that in as my truth. So I'm remaining open with the ascension. I'm remaining open to all information. Please do see the description for some videos that I've been consuming. I'll kind of leave a little bit of a tag of what the expression is, so that you can go and partake in some things that I've been consuming, because it might help you understand where I've been in my expression and, you know, the conclusions that I've come to. But that's all for myself today, and I look forward to coming back with you all again soon with some more information, some more channelings, and some personal insights. But that's all for me today. Take care.